Good evening. All right, we have pretty much a full house today, which is great. Thank y'all for coming out this evening. My name is Latara Rouse. I am the Neighborhood Revitalization Coordinator for the City of Newport News in the Planning Department. And I'm the one that sends y'all emails and bugs you and says, you know, don't forget this meeting's coming up, post it on social media. So that's part of my responsibility. We have lots of other staff in the room that have various other responsibilities related to the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative, and you'll be hearing from a lot of them a little bit later. But I just wanted to start by welcoming you all. As you came in, hopefully everyone has signed in. Did everybody sign in when you walked in? I know some people came from the other direction. So please make sure you sign up on that list. That's really important. That's a great way to find out about events like this that will be happening in the future. We'll make sure you're on our mailing list to get our monthly newsletter. Usually it's about just once a month. We send out information, and if there are meetings like this or special events related to the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative, we'll send that information out as well via email. So please sign in if you haven't already. Just a few words about what this meeting is and what it's for. We do the CNI Community Update Meeting. We've been doing the Marshall-Ridley Choice Neighborhoods Initiative for about 3 years now. We've been in implementation now for about a year. And as we are transitioning, now that the transformation plan is fully complete and we are making it happen, we still recognize that there's a need to check in with the community periodically, just to share with everyone, anyone who wants to come, about what Choice Neighborhoods is, what the Marshall-Ridley Choice Neighborhood Initiative is, and the progress that we're making as we're in implementation. So we just do this meeting as needed. It's roughly quarterly, but it's not on a set schedule. A lot of it just depends on what developments we have and what news we have to share. And so when we get to a point where we go, okay, well, there have been quite a few things happening, and it's a good opportunity for us to share that with you all, and it's your opportunity to ask questions as well. With us tonight, I want to first acknowledge Mayor Price has joined us this evening. So thank you for doing that. And we also have a representative, Mr. David Freeman from the City Manager's Office, who wanted to share a few words as well.
Thank you, Latara. Good evening, everybody. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to bring remarks on behalf of the City Manager, Cindy Rolfe, in her office. As you are aware, City Manager Rolfe has been a very strong supporter of the CNI process over the years, and this includes both the planning grant as well as the implementation grant effort. The community was elated to hear the news on Monday, May 13th, 2019, when the Honorable Ben Carson, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, announced that the Marshall-Ridley community was a recipient of the $30 million HUD Choice Neighborhood Initiative Award. That's right. Secretary Carson went on to say, congratulations, and now the hard work begins. This announcement was a significant milestone in the transformation of the Marshall-Ridley neighborhood. HUD officials returned on July the 17th and 18th to further review the city's implementation plan once more and tour the Marshall-Ridley neighborhood to provide additional feedback on how to strengthen the plan, making it even more transformational, and we're working through that process now. Tonight you will hear an update from a number of implementation team members on the progress of the various aspects of the plan. So there are so many partners and stakeholders that can be recognized, but we'd be here all night, and I don't think anybody wants to be here all night, so yeah, there you go again. So our most important partner and stakeholder is the community, because nothing can be done without you. So we really appreciate everything that you're doing. So as Secretary Carson said, now the hard work begins. So thank you, and God bless.
Okay, and as a few folks have mentioned, throughout the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative, staff has been working, but we've also been doing a lot of work to connect with the community. This process has to be driven by your vision as residents of the community, for those of you all who live here. And so we've been doing a lot of community engagement through the process, particularly, like I said earlier, the planning process. Now that we're in implementation, we're not having as many of the meetings where we're trying to gather ideas to put into the transformation plan, because that part is complete. We've done that. Some of you all have shared with me that we had quite a few meetings, quite enough meetings for your taste. So that phase is complete. We are now in implementation, but it's still really important that we have meetings like this, like the CNI 101 workshop, where we continue to engage the community. We will continue offering the Neighborhood Leadership Series. Raise your hand if you've gone through the Neighborhood Leadership Series, which is a multi-week program. Some of our alumni are right here in this room. It's a two-part program. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2. Where we are introducing residents of the neighborhood and supporters of the community to some basic leadership skills. We'll be starting our advanced class in just a few weeks here. But one of the other things that we have done in the implementation phase is that we have begun working with a citizen advisory committee. And their job is to represent the community as we go along through implementation, to make sure that there is still a voice for residents as we continue in this process. So our committee chair, Mr. Ernest Thompson, is here this evening, and I've asked him to share a few words about the committee and what they've been working on. So Mr. Thompson, if you wouldn't mind coming up.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ernest Thompson. They chose me to be the chairman of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Now, I can read to you, Tara's so good. You almost don't have to say nothing. She just said it all. What we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to be engaged in, and so forth. So I'll just read to you. It says the Citizens Advisory Committee will be comprised of Marshall-Ridley residents, people that are on leadership series programs, those who have participated. In other words, what they're trying to do is to get people that have stayed engaged to be a part of this committee, because they've already shown that they're committed. And our commitment and our duty is to speak for you, to be your voice, because so often you don't think you have a voice. And one of the analogies I like to use is that, imagine going to a business meeting, and generally people at business meetings, they are there for one of three reasons. They got a product, they got a service, or they got some money. And most times when you're dealing with residents that come from impoverished areas, one of the things they rarely have is money. So when they sit at the table, their lips are normally buttoned, because whatever people say, that's what they go along with. So this CNI grant has done one thing for you. It has empowered you. The city and all its partners has come together to take that money and represent you. That's why you have a voice. So you don't have to be quiet. You can actually tell us what you want. If you don't like something, speak up. If something is not right, talk to us. Share with us. People said things are wrote in stone, nothing's in stone. As long as you have the breath of life in your body, you can speak up, you can say something. Does that mean it's going to change? No, it doesn't mean it's going to change, but at least it means you have a voice. Because like they say at a marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. Now we will try to make ourselves visible and known to you all, so that when you have something you'd like to advocate or share with us, or something you don't understand, as there's a one-on-one that Latara just mentioned. So there's a lot going on, but sometimes you miss points when you don't know what to do or who to talk to. The Citizens Advisory Committee, we're here. So that's what we're about, and thank you all so much.
All right, so now the reason we are here, the update part of the update meeting. So we're going to start with housing. Ms. Wilds, being the director of the Redevelopment Housing Authority, which is the lead for the housing plan, is going to give us some updates on what's happening with that portion.
Tara, thank you. So, welcome again. And I want to thank everybody who serves on that Citizen Advisory Committee group, because it's taking a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of dedication, and you all certainly have it. So it's a great group. So thank you all very much. There are really three things I wanted to brief you on tonight. And the first is the status of what we are doing with the disposition of a site that is in the Choice Neighborhoods area, but it was not identified as a specific project or identified as a budget item for CNI. But because it is so integral to the Choice Neighborhood area and certainly an asset in the community, we wanted to brief you about what we're doing about the former Harbor Homes and Dickerson Courts site. As you probably know, Harbor Homes, Dickerson Courts was a public housing. There were two properties that were contiguous to each other. It makes up 35 acres. Here's a map, and I know those of you in the back really can't see it. But it goes from 22nd Street down to 14th. And when this picture was taken, the buildings at Harbor were still there. This is an aerial. It's a little bit old. But it really is 35 acres from here to here. And it is an incredible asset. When we tore down the units there, we had to get permission from HUD to allow us to do that. We did not at that time ask for permission to dispose of the property, because at the time we really weren't sure what would be the best thing to happen with the property. And it's currently in the proposed land use study that the Department of Planning is doing. But what we are now pursuing is getting permission from the Department of Housing and Urban Development to sell the property and to use it for something other than public and affordable housing. Because right now there are deed restrictions on the property that HUD has, federal deed restrictions, that would only allow us to put public housing back on that site, and that's not what we had ever intended to do. We knew there was a better use for that property, and I think I've been saying in the community for over 10 years that whatever we do at that site, it needs to be creating jobs for folks who live in the community. And so that's still our goal. The proposed land use is for industrial, for everything that's not fronting on Jefferson, and then commercial for the uses there along Jefferson Avenue where Harbor used to be. So we are working on submitting a package to the Department of Housing and Urban Development that includes an appraisal report, information regarding environmental issues at the site, and just everything that they require to get their permission to sell the property. After we get their permission, we will be issuing a request for proposals for that site. And that will be made public. We'll be letting this group know when that goes out. I'm expecting it's probably going to be in the October time frame, based on what we know right now. But that it will be public. It will be issued publicly, and we'll be taking proposals from anybody who has an idea and the capacity to do the development there on that site. But again, the goal for that request for proposals will be maximizing job creation, particularly for light industry in this area. So if you have any questions about that, I just want to make sure that everybody knew that that was happening. You'll probably see something in the paper about the request for proposals. I had already briefed the Ridley Tenant Council on this last week, and so we wanted to get it out to the broader community. The Citizens Advisory Committee has known about this for probably close to a month now that we were initiating this. So yes.
Besides the proposals, have you heard of any feelers of that?
You know, over the last 5 years, there have been a lot of folks who have inquired about the site, and we've kept those folks in mind. But I think when we get this request for proposals out, we will certainly, there will be, I'm sure, a lot of interest in the property. But the folks who have heretofore come and talked to us about the site have really looked at just a little corner or a piece of it. And, you know, our goal for the site would be that someone who could maximize as much, we don't want to cut it up in little pieces. So that's going to be part of what we say, that we'll be looking at this job creation. But there are a lot of folks out there who have an interest in a portion or all of it, and we'll be finding out about how serious they are when we get this request for proposals out. I wanted to let you know that we're continuing to work on the financing for the first phase of housing for CNI, and that's in that block on the east side of Jefferson Avenue between 27th and 29th Street. We are continuing to explore all the funding opportunities possible out there. I mean, $30 million sounds like a lot of money. About 18 million of that, a little less, is going towards housing, but we're going to be building over 500 units with that resource, and so we need to match that 18 million with a lot of other sources, probably 4 or 5 times that amount to get that housing built. So we have recently, just on Friday, submitted an application to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, known as DHCD. The applications were due Friday. I think we actually got it in on Thursday night, but to help with that development, and we're hoping to hear some good news on that. We're also looking at the Virginia Housing Development Authority's REACH program, and they've just put some stuff out yesterday on new guidelines for that program. And then we're continuing with all of our options with the low-income housing tax credit program. So we're working on the financing for phase 1. And I'll keep you updated as we get those resources together and can start the process. So, relocation phasing. As you know, especially the Ridley residents are particularly interested in this part of the project because it's affecting them all very personally. Because everybody who currently lives at Ridley is going to have to move, at least temporarily, from the site. Hopefully, close by, and certainly we'll do everything we can do to get them moved to a location where they want to go, and everybody's going to have the opportunity to move back. But we have put together our phasing plan on the relocation, and again, last Thursday we met with the Ridley Resident Council. Selita Scott was there, many of our residents at Ridley were there, and we went over this plan with them, but I wanted to also share it with the community overall to show you where you're going to first start seeing some activity on that site and what the timing is going to be. So phase 1 of the of moving families and tearing down buildings will be in the area north of 16th Street. There are 60 families who live there. In the October-November timeframe of this year, we'll start getting notices out to families that in 90 days that we're going to be starting to work with them and to find them some locations to move to. And we anticipate we might be able to issue some vouchers as early as December of this year, but probably the bulk of them will go out for the families who live in that phase 1 early next year in the January time frame. So in the December through March is when we'll be getting vouchers out to everybody. As I told the residents at Ridley, everyone who lives there who is lease compliant will be eligible to get a Section 8 voucher that's called a tenant protection voucher. It is exactly like a normal Section 8 voucher. It's just that we are awarded a number of vouchers for every occupied unit as of the day we got the grant, for every occupied unit there at Ridley. So everybody will be issued a voucher, but it's going to be happening in phases. Phase 2 is the 107 units that really goes along from the corner of Jefferson Avenue down to 12th. And so those families would be moving, they'd be starting to get notices in April, and we'd be issuing vouchers in the April through September time frame. And then the last phase is everything in that interior portion of Ridley Circle. And there are 89 units there. There are 107 in phase 2, and there are 89 units in phase 3. And late next year, from say October until probably it would be like February, March of 2021 is when those families would be getting their vouchers and provided assistance. So one of the things that I told the the residents last Thursday is that Star is going to be our person in charge of relocation activities, but she's going to be working very closely to every family, with every family's caseworker and with the family, so that we can get a really good idea of what people's needs and wants are as to where they might want to move. And so, please, if you haven't gone to see your caseworker, do that. And in the next few months, you'll be hearing from Star, but it'll be in that phasing that I've just mentioned to you. If you have a voucher, it's going to be a different relationship that you have, because you're going to have a landlord who's a private landlord. It's not going to be the housing authority unless you opt to move to another public housing unit, which is, if that's what you want to do, then we'll facilitate that. But you have to remain lease compliant at the other location, meaning, abide by the lease. I mean, the lease is a contract, it's a legal contract. So it's just abide by the lease. So it's no really any additional expectations than what we have right now. But, the point is, don't move, stop paying your rent, and then think you get to come back, because that's not how it works. We currently are keeping the property leased up right now. But it's interesting, we haven't had many families move out at the rate that they were moving out before we heard about CNI. And I think that is because people now know that if they stay and abide by the rules, they get a voucher. So, yeah, I mean, that's no coincidence, but all of a sudden folks, so we only release a vacant unit. But at some point later in the year. Now, we've already heard from some residents who say they don't want to move from Ridley until the last minute. And if that's the case, if we have a vacancy over in phase 3 and they're in phase 1 and they want to move to that vacant unit, we'll facilitate that. Because some people want to stay as long as possible, because the second phase of housing development is going to go up there at 16th Street and Jefferson Avenue. And the reason we changed up a little bit on relocation is that we want the first units that we build, we want the property to be larger and to be able to accommodate as many families as possible in that phase. So there could be that folks who are relocated towards the end might be able to, if they want to, stay on the Ridley site, but in a new unit that's been developed. We will issue the vouchers out of Newport News, but a family can move anywhere they want to with that voucher. They don't even have to stay in Virginia. Folks can move to California if they wanted to move to California. And typically what happens is that, and this gets into the details of it, but typically what happens is that the housing authority in California or North Carolina or even Portsmouth would then absorb that voucher into their inventory and then administer the voucher, because with the Section 8 program, you have to send an inspector out at least once a year to inspect the unit. And we don't, we're not going to go to California to inspect the unit. And we might have some employees who like to do that, but we're not going to send them there to do that. So no, people are not limited at all. They can move anywhere with that voucher as long as they go to a unit that passes inspection, it's decent, safe, and sanitary, and rents at a modest rent. HUD publishes what they call fair market rents, and so to be eligible for the Section 8 program, it has to be, in that medium range of rentals. We've already been researching units that are available in 23607, because we know the bulk of our folks are probably going to want to stay in 23607. That doesn't mean we're not looking at other stuff outside of 23607 or all over the peninsula, but we will continue in these meetings to talk about all the positive things that are happening in this community. And one of the things that I had said to the residents on Thursday, I know one of the things that families, particularly with young children, think about is the schools in the area where they're going to be living. And everybody thinks about that. I mean, in this neighborhood, we've got some great schools. We've got Achievable Dream. We've got the STEM Academy. We've got the school we're standing in. This already, in terms of education, is a very good neighborhood for educational purposes. And we want to do all those other things that are in the plan to make this a real community of choice. All right, I think next up is Kevin. All right, thank you so much.
I have a lot of good news to share and give you some updates of what's been happening, not only in the case management side, but the people services. So I'm also, in my presentation, I'm going to have Pat with the public school system to also share some updates, as well as Uganda, who is going to share some updates on community engagement, as well as resident outreach. So some of the things, you can go to the first slide. So again, we have developed 4 task forces that are helping us to achieve all of the goals in the people plan. We do have a service provider network that meets the second Thursday of each month. So we really encourage everyone to come out to the Lift and Connect Center. So we have the first one, which is dealing with the health task force. So the Ridley Clinic is open every Wednesday from 9 to 1. Southeastern Virginia Health System is still out there, and so we're still looking for residents to really come out and help us. But one of the things that we also did is just recently we partnered with the ECPI, and so they have given us a work-study nurse who is there mostly throughout the week, about 25 hours a week. And she is coming and meeting with the family service specialist so that we can monitor, do blood pressure screening. So if it's outside of when the clinic is open, you'll also be able to get your screenings. So what we're asking is that when you do have your meetings with your family service specialist, that you keep your appointment and show up, because we're waiting for you to come. That's number 1. And then number 2, that we want to make sure that you're utilizing all the resources that we do have available to you. And then again, we have on the food insecurities, again, if you were to come by the Lift and Connect Center, we still have food boxes that are always available with no questions asked. The employment side, I've shared at the last meeting and continuing to talk about the great work that we're doing with the city, as well as all of our major partners. The Brooks Crossing Innovation and Opportunity Center opened on Saturday. If you haven't seen it, it's a great resource for you. We have a lot of great partners that are there. Of course, you see Melanie, which is one of the most recent graduates. But wanted to kind of give you some updates as to what's happened since our last community meeting. And this is numbers as of June 30 that was reported to the state. We had 32 participants. That means that, 1, we achieved our goal. We were ahead of the goal that was actually established by the city and by the state. We had 12 that actually entered into employment. We had 8 that entered into unique employers. That means those are different employers that we had the participants to go in. And then the average salary or the average wage was $11.25. So we're continuing to see some great movement in this program. And then 10 actually had benefits, with benefits. So that means full-time benefits with insurance, health insurance, retirement, etc. And then we had 6 that entered part-time employment, 12 that entered full-time employment, and 9 that went into jobs and career pathways. So for those that might not be familiar with those career pathways, that's like electricians or certified nursing assistants or construction, job trades. And so we're continuing to do this type of work at the Brooks Crossing building. So that's what you'll see if you come. It's open, and we really want everyone to come and take advantage of what's out there for you. And again, we also operated the STEP program. And just recently, I know Pat might talk a little bit about this, I'm not sure, but 149 in-school youth were placed at worksite employers. And then we also had 15 out-of-school youth placements. And then we also offered, throughout the STEP program, 596 training certificates. So these certificates center around North Star Digital. That means teaching individuals how to use the computer, getting their results. ACT, getting career certificates. And then this workplace excellence. We focus on job skills, job readiness training, customer service. How do you know to adapt to a new work environment? How do you present yourself when you go to work? Those are some of those soft skill training that we are providing each and every day. at the Brooks Crossing building. So a lot of work has taken place, and this was just, actually we talked about the waiting list. We still have individuals waiting to get into this program. But again, the priority is for residents of the Southeast community. That's the reason why we wrote this grant. So if you know someone, now it's a very competitive program, because the goal is that we want to make sure when you get in the program that you're, one, suitable, and that you're also eligible for the program. So we put you through a series of tests, but if you're not eligible the first round, what we do is we connect you to services, meaning if you need additional literacy services, we connect you with the GED class, or we might send you to another partner so that you can begin to get ready to be ready for this program. So it's a lot that's taken in this process, but we want to make sure individuals that go through this are actually entering into high-paying jobs. And so we're continuing to do that each and every day. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have Pat come up and talk about education.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate this opportunity just to let you know what we're doing on the education side. Really wanted to say Newport News Public Schools is very proud to be part of the program and really commends the city, Redevelopment Housing Authority, and also HUD for including this as a component, because they haven't always in the past. And we think it's going to be very, very important over the next 5 years as families transition in and out of housing and back, hopefully. We do want y'all to come back to our schools. That we're going to be with you every step of the way and providing services and support and access to things that you normally wouldn't have had under the old style grant. So that's great. This CNI grant is going to open up a lot of, I think, great opportunities for people. You see some things up here on the slide. Some of them are CNI related, some of them actually aren't. The free breakfast and lunch is something new that we've just announced. Every student in Newport News Public Schools is now going to get free breakfast. Yeah. Thank you. And I'll pass it on to our food service people because they did a bang-up job of working with the federal government for that. And free breakfast, free lunch, and if they still have to stay after school, free snack. So that's even better. So really happy about that. We've run about 30 summer feeding locations this summer, just because of the food insecurity issues. And we've just gotten tremendous support from all sorts of people to help out with that. One of the neat things we're doing is starting out early. We want to have we're going to add a pre-kindergarten SPARK program. You all heard about SPARK. It's a summer program for arts, recreation, and knowledge. And next summer, we will actually have a pre-kindergarten program, probably right in this building, for any residents, any kids who are coming up to go into kindergarten. And we'll just get them ready, even more ready than they already are for that. It'll be a free program, transportation, everything provided, meals. We'll be adding a after-school learning resource program. We don't have all the details worked out on that, but that'll be something, probably at least a couple afternoons a week for kids to come in and get some tutoring, maybe some mentoring, and some help, some counseling if they need it. Working on that right now. Some of the other things, I'm not going to go over everything. We are, thanks to this grant, and I'd really like to thank the grant again, going to be able to buy some Chromebooks for every student, K through 12. Yeah, thank you. Again, it's not us, it's HUD, and it's the people who put this grant together to say thank you to. We'll be rolling those out this fall, and we envision that really as take-home Chromebooks, because when they come to school, the students come to school, they'll have the resources in the school that they need, but when they go home, they may not. So we really envision that as a take-home program. One of the things we talked about, Kevin talked about some great progress they've made and really already beating the goals, and I commend them on that. And just want to give a shout out to our Ridley community, because our graduation rate, last time I looked, for Ridley seniors was 100%. So, you know, that's beating every average in the state. So that's fantastic. So what we looked at is actually, maintaining that goal. But what do the students have once they graduate? What kind of opportunities are there? What are they trained for? What do they have, for careers, for college, for other things? And so that's what we're going to be taking a look at internally in our school division and saying, we want to make sure that you don't just graduate, you graduate with something, into something, and some really good futures. So that's exciting that we're already met that goal. Now we can go beyond. That's going to be a lot of good things to work on. CNU and the school division partnered with what they call the Captains Program. It's an early entry program for Christopher Newport University. And they will take students in 10th grade and mentor them, provide a free course, and then actually they are working on whittling down the tuition to next to nothing and providing full meal program so that kids can go and be part of the regular day. They're actually working on more than that too, but I don't want to say too much. But they're a fantastic partner and they've been working with us. And what we've done is try to carve out some spots for people in the Ridley area, for students in the Ridley area. A lot of other things great things are going on, a lot of great partners. The shipyard has given us a grant to have a skilled trades pilot. This summer we have, I think it's starting out with 10 students, some from Heritage, but some from any school, who will actually start in their senior year as welding students at Thomas Nelson that will pick up the whole cost through the grant. When they walk across the stage for graduation, they should be able to walk right into a job making $18 to $20 an hour. So, again, great partnerships. We couldn't do that without the shipyard, without our education foundation behind it, and they've made that possible. We're actually talking with some others for electricians, for machinists, because there's a lot of students who want to get out and just get to work. I mean, I know I did. I didn't get out and go to college. I was a meat cutter in a supermarket for years. And it's just one of those things. Not everybody wants to do college or something like that right away. You might want to eventually, but we want to make sure those opportunities are there for everybody. So that's a whole lot. Now, the crux of this, what's going to hold us all together is we're hiring a community education resource coordinator through the grant again, and that person's going to be here with us for the whole 5 years of the grant to help every family member in the Ridley area navigate all the opportunities. If you move somewhere, they're going to be with you. If you move back, they're going to be with you, providing that information. They're going to help us coordinate with counselors, with family engagement specialists, with career programs and all that. And so we're actually advertising that position right now. We hope to have it filled in the next few weeks. In fact, if anybody would like to go online, and if you're interested in the position, or you know someone that might be, let them know just to go on our website, Newport News Public Schools, check out that position and make an application. We'd love to have that. So, Kevin, thank you very much. Thank you.
So again, you see there's a lot of great work that's taking place on our education initiatives. So on our counseling side, if you were to go and look at the transformation plan that's again on the website, Newport News Choice, I want to make sure where on the people side, under the brown sections, you can see where we're making progress towards our counseling, dealing with both relocation, mobility, and home ownership. So one thing I wanted to share, Terry, can you hold up that clipboard that was right there? So we have this little clipboard that our family services team walks around with. All right. So one is we walk around in the neighborhood quite frequently, and we still have 73 households to get. And so one of the things that we're asking as a takeaway is that you help us by telling neighbors to come or answer the door when we come, knock on the door, help pick up some of the paper that we're putting on those doors too, but tell them to come and see us. We have 73 households left. And our family services team is very competitive. They actually told me they're going to have it all done this month, and I said, I don't think you're going to do it, but we need your help. So if you take one thing away today, is that tell each and every resident, have you seen your family services specialist to complete your initial intake? So we still have 73, everybody say 73. 73. We have to have that complete by November. And we want to tell HUD that we have it completed, but we can't do it without what number? 73. So that's what we take away today, 73 households that we still need to see. I'll say it again, 73. Because that's how you can help. So if you're in a leadership position, I need the advisory committee, I need each of you to go out and help us to get 73 households to get their initial intake started and get their schedule to meet with their family services specialist. So our service provider network, so this is where our partners continue to meet. This is another opportunity for you to meet with different partners that have agreed with different leverage letters, businesses, and right now we have 74 partners. And so they're continuing to grow, and we're trying to have as many resources dedicated to the community to help each and every resident that's impacted by the Family Services team. So again, it's the second Thursday of each month at the Lifton Connect Center at 10 o'clock. So I'm now going to have Uganda, who is our community engagement navigator, to talk about resident outreach and community engagement as well.
Good evening. How y'all doing? Good. So first off, I have to do this because I am so proud and honored to work with all my Ridley residents, and y'all showed up and showed out. So can we give them a hand? It takes a lot to be in these rooms, especially if you're not used to being in these rooms. Fortunately, we've been doing it for 4 years, so we're kind of used to it now. But, okay, so we're talking about resident outreach. So, you know, we do the door-to-door outreach every week, but we've done something, we're doing a little bit different. The main purpose of the door-to-door, going door-to-door, is to bridge the communication gap, because there's so many great services and resources that are going on, especially with CNI HR CAP. So we want to make sure that those programs or the information gets to the people who need it the most. Something that we are doing differently is we are having a joint community walk. We had our second one last Tuesday, and it was pretty dope because Mayor Price joined us and Karen joined us. So we had some very prestigious people walking around Ridley, and it was cool because we had people who look at Mayor Price and like, oh my goodness, that's Obama. And and it's like, oh my, we're trying to tell them that this is a regular man and he is very engaged in what's going on, and that our city really cares about the CNI project and make sure the residents have what they need. So thank you again, Mayor Price. All right, so community walks, the tenant council meetings, we're having those. Salita Scott is the president, and thank you for all the residents that show up, because Karen Housing, Carl Williamson, Ms. Powell, everyone's been showing up, making sure that you're updated on the information. But community engagement. So we have a lot of good things going on. As Kevin mentioned, we had a Brooks Crossing grand opening, and that was Saturday. But what that is innovate. Lisa, yes, help me out. Is it Innovation and Opportunity? Yes, ma'am. Okay, Innovation and Opportunity Center. And y'all, this is for us. This place is so cool. Like, I went in there and laid a track. They have a studio. Made t-shirts, vinyl cutting, is teaching our children about 3D printing. But what's most interesting is like the program that they use to make the music, because that's how we're bringing the young men in. When we walk, do our community walks, and we see the young 15, 16, most people want to be a rapper. So we bring them in and say, hey, we have a studio, not knowing that the program that they're using, they're able to build a digital ship with that. So just exposing our youth to different opportunities. So we really need your help. Kevin said we need your help with the intakes, but we need your help driving the demand to that building, because it exposes our children to so many opportunities, and it gets them prepared for jobs that we don't even know about. So that's a great opportunity.
Also, we had a CNI block party. Most of y'all were there. So we're really good at throwing a cookout. And the Feel Good crew helped us with that, with the grill and the DJ. So that was a CNI celebration as well, and the grand opening for our clinic. National Night Out was at our garden. Just to talk a little bit about our garden, it is in full bloom. We're almost finished with the squash and the zucchini, but we just planted collard greens, kale, beets. We have some watermelons that's growing. Cantaloupes are growing. We have spices, so we added sage and stuff like that. And then we have some cabbage because we're getting ready for the Thanksgiving, y'all. So I need y'all to come out because that garden is for us. We have so many peppers coming out. And y'all know, I don't know too much about gardening, but it's so cool because we planted all the peppers in one. And hey, boo. I bring her the peppers every week. But they became hybrids. So now we have like green peppers that are purple and red and tie-dye. And I'm like, yes, I'm making me some pepper steak. It's on point. So just some events that I want y'all to keep in mind. We have a Section 3 event, and that's for our residents. And that's important for you to come because with this grant, it's going to be different opportunities in contracting, learning skills like, I don't know, HVAC and all those things that I don't do. But there are jobs coming, and we're going to have a workshop about that September 19th. We'll have the information, so make sure you pay attention to the pamphlets that come on your door every week. And then we also have Healthy Aging Seminar. So this is a seminar that Miss Anna Grace is putting together, and it's going to be pretty cool because it's a luncheon for our elders, but we're also going to have people come in and talk about how to age gracefully and healthy, talk about exercising, different things like that. So Miss Valentine, you better come. And one more important thing, the census. So the census is coming. And we've been passing out these. If you don't have one, I'm going to pass them out tonight. This serves as a reminder. If you have an email address, we put it on there and send you a reminder to do the census. The census is very important because that's how we get money for our programs, like the programs HR CAP puts on, even school. It's important that everyone gets counted, even if it's an infant, because it's $2,000 that we're missing out on. So say if we have a newborn, a lot of people don't like to count newborns, but in 10 years, because the census is every 10 years, the newborn is going to be in school. And this money helps our schools as well. So please make sure you're getting the word out. Everyone needs to be counted in the census. And, oh, one more thing. So in addition to the Chromebooks, I also want to let y'all know that the library has dedicated Wi-Fi hotspots for our residents and their library. You just have to check them out. But that goes with the Chromebooks to make sure our babies are getting access to the technology, not only at school, but at home. And I think that's it. All right, y'all have a cool night.
All right, so I know this has been a lot of information that you all have gotten tonight, and we're not even done. We have one more set of updates. But before we get to that, so I mentioned the newsletter tonight. There are copies of it on the table where you signed in when you came in. So if you don't have a copy of it, please feel free to pick one up. The newsletter goes out every month. It goes out by email, but I also distribute, leave copies at the Family Investment Center, at the Lift and Connect Center, and at various other locations in the community. So even if you don't have access to email, there are hard copies distributed throughout the neighborhood. And a lot of these things we've been talking about tonight get highlighted in the newsletter. The newsletter is also on our website. Y'all know what I'm gonna say next, right? What's the website? Y'all sound sleepy. Listen, I'm pregnant. I'm still awake. Y'all can be awake. I'm gonna need y'all to get some more energy. I'm gonna try that again. What's the website? NewportNewsChoice.com. I love it. Yes. All right, hang in there with me, y'all. So it's NewportNewsChoice.com. .com is our website. That's where you can find, there's an event calendar that has a lot of those all the events that we just mentioned goes on that event calendar. The archives of the newsletter goes on that website. All that information is there. And again, the newsletter frequently highlights a lot of these events that we've been talking about and a lot of the programs we've been talking about. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. So if you check us out there. What's our Facebook and Instagram handle? You just said it. Newport News Choice. Very good. So you can find lots of information at those two resources. And of course, you can always, there's all these spaces. Y'all know somebody in this room that's involved in CNI, so you can always talk to us directly. You can come to meetings like this. There's lots and lots of ways you can get information. So if you ever have questions, you've got a citizen advisory committee that you can reach out to. So there's lots of resources where you can find information. All right, so we're going to wrap up our program with an update from our neighborhood section. I'm going to invite Ms. Tricia Wilson from the Development Department and then Ms. Lisa Z to come talk to us about the Brooks Crossing Innovation and Opportunity Center. So we'll let Ms. Tricia go first.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk about something exciting yet to come that we can't see, but we have a vision that's coming, and that's our co-working space. And those of you that have been with us for a while know about the co-working space, which is to be located at 2506 Jefferson Avenue. The city's Economic Development Department has already purchased the building, and it's there. And for those newcomers, what that is going to be is a location that will provide low-cost office space and serve as a hub for business assistance-related services for entrepreneurs, small businesses, and those that want to transition from a home business to a business with an outside location. The building plans have been done and submitted, and we've actually advertised for bids for construction work. Unfortunately, as often happens, the bids came back a little higher than we expected. The low bid was higher still than we had anticipated. So we are in the process of working with the low bidder to see some potential ways that we can cut costs and still have the quality location that we want. So after as I said, we're working through the budget issues, but hopefully you will see activity and work starting to happen within the next 2 months. And we're still targeting to have it up and ready to be occupied by summer of 2020. So by the summer of next year, that is still our goal. So, and out of that space also business partners are going to be there. It should be space for roughly 30 businesses, and that kind of breaks out to 6 private offices, 8 dedicated desks, and then 16 shared spaces. So it's going to be a very open and interactive kind of space. So we're excited, and we will keep you updated as things progress. But hopefully within the next couple months, you will see activity starting there. And now I'm going to pass it off to Lisa Z to end on a very high note, something that is now open and very, very exciting.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Okay, I'm going to be fast and furious. Everybody calls me Lisa Z. Is that easy to remember? Okay. So how many people have been through Brooks Crossing? Hallelujah. Okay. We are traditionally open now 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Our programs are ramping up. We will have night classes, night recruitment events for those who are underemployed, but you can't go to a job fair during the day and you want to go at night. We're going to have Saturday classes, Saturday recruitment, but we just got started. So just have patience with us. We're getting our groove. We've got HR Cap on site. We have Goodwill on site. The One Stop in Hampton, which is funded through Department of Labor, is hiring a case manager. And there's a few quick things I'm going to go through. The Clancy and Thays, did anybody stop by the Clancy and Thays table? The construction table? One young lady from there grew up, well, not grew up, she lived in Ridley 13 years and raised her son there. She wants to hire from your community. And she hires construction, they want to train. The Census was there hiring. We'd love to have you do census jobs. Newport News Shipyard was there. Centura College, they are really focusing on CDL driving. Do you know what that is, the truck driving? Guess how much money you can make if you go through Centura and go to Cisco Foods and sleep in your own bed at night. Guess how much? $80,000 is what Cisco Foods across in Suffolk is paying CDL drivers who graduate from Centura College. I really want y'all to understand that. I want you to understand that. You go up to the Eastern Shore and you make deliveries, you come back home. You go to Richmond, Northern Virginia, Roanoke, you come back home. And females make great CDL drivers. Okay, what else? Bay Electric. Bay Electric is right here in your neighborhood. They've hired some folks from the HR CAP programs. We have the Navigating Wealth. They're working at the Whitaker. If you live close by, you can walk to the Whitaker for work, right? Okay. So if you're not interested in going on to a community college or a four-year university, let me tell you what's rocking right now. It's skills. Skills. If you have the ability to become an electrician, we have the money. When we talk about training, I don't want you to think you're going to be going in debt for training. There are a number of partners that are going to be housed at Brooks Crossing in your neighborhood to help you get through training. They also have money to help the employers, like a Bay Electric. We can give them money to train you and ramp you up. We can give money to Fairlead. We can send you through pre-hire training at Thomas Nelson for 3 weeks, and you go to the shipyard making $19 an hour. So, but you've got to be ready to hit the ground running, and you have to be dedicated to learning a new skill, okay? Because the world is constantly changing. Okay, so a few more things I want to tell you, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, so I have to tell my favorite joke from one of our favorite congressmen, Bobby Scott, and I tell it now after I've heard it one time, so I do give him credit, but I thought it was funny. So a plumber goes to the governor's mansion. He's there for 15 minutes, plumber. 15 minutes, he gives the governor a bill for $150. The governor said, man, $150? You were only here 15 minutes. And the plumber said, yes, sir. And the governor said, well, that's $600 an hour. And the plumber said, yes, sir. And so the governor said, well, I didn't make that when I was a lawyer. And the plumber said, I didn't either. I want you to understand, skills rock and roll now. So if you don't come see us at Brooks Crossing, shame on you. Is that good? Okay, I'm finished. Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for coming out this evening, and y'all have a good night. Everybody travel safely.